Architectural Review Board of the Town of Southampton now come to order. Welcome to the July 16th, 2024 meeting. Ms. Doyle, the ARB attorney, would you please read the legal regulations for this meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning. In accordance with the Town Board's adoption of Local Law Number 14 of 2022, the Board's meetings are being held both in person at Town Hall and via video conference through Zoom webinar. The link to participate in this meeting via Zoom can be found on the town's website at the Town Clerk's Agendas and Meetings portal. You can also watch the live stream video and submit written comments through the town website. For anyone attending via Zoom, if you wish to speak during the meeting, please click the raise hand icon so our moderator can grant you access to participate in the meeting. If you're here in person, when your application is called, you can come up to the table. As a reminder, please state your name and hamlet of residence for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doyle. Everyone please rise. Mr. Rump, the Vice Chair, would you lead us in the pledge?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Rump.
Very welcome, Mr. Chairman.
And would you mind calling the roll since Mr.
Sure.
Jankowski, the Board Secretary, is absent?
Sure. So we start from the bottom.
It's up to you.
William Wright, not here. Michael is here. Julie's here. Joe Burke is not here. And Ted is not here. Myself and the chairman.
Okay, and
So look at that.
you're late. Okay. Okay,
So we have five, Mr.
so
Chairman.
we have a quorum. Thank you
Yes.
very much, Mr. Rump. Did the board members that were present at the July 2nd, 2024 meeting review the minutes, and were there any errors or omissions?
I saw none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anyone else? No one? Okay, then do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll motion that.
Do I- Motion has been made, seconded to approve the July 2nd, 2024 minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's carried. Any old business to come before the board?
Nope.
None? Then we'll proceed with the published agenda. And the first on the agenda is 157 West Montauk Highway in Hampton Bays. The applicants are present. Would you give your names and your connection to this project? And Mr. Tagliavia is the lead board member on this application.
Morning.
For the applicant, David Gilmartin Jr., Greenberg Trorig, 2123 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton. And I am counsel for the applicant, property owner.
Alex Badalamenti, President BLD Architects, 31 West Main Street, Patchogue, New York, and we are the architects of record and designer.
So we're here through the site plan process. This property is the Hampton Bays Diner. And we have engaged with the planning board and the planning staff. And this is a referral from them as part of the secret process. And I'll let Michael take you through where we are today and then how we've gotten through here with the staff of the planning board, who has given us some insight into what they would like to see. So with that, Alex will take you through the building.
Thank you. So, yeah, we've been through a work session a number of times. We have two buildings on the site. One is facing Montauk Highway, one is set back slightly. They're slightly askew to each other. That responds to the sort of geometry of 24 and Montauk Highway coming together. Also, we have a pretty serious easement for a state recharge basin that is to the south of us, which really only allows us to park over that easement with the state.
So our buildings are shifted to the east, have to be.
The buildings, while we're not in the historic district or the overlay district, we do conform with the maritime mercantile design guidelines. So we have a lot of glass facing the street. We're using pitched roofs. They have different pitches on the building, but I think they're complementary. We have standing seam roofs. We are using a composite C material for the exterior, which is like a hardy plank. So the buildings are handsomely designed, and I think the materials are very well selected. We do have a tenant who has signed a lease for the forward building, so we're trying to get the building department as quickly as we can. We've done a number of renderings for you. The first is a photograph. These are front to back. So the first is the existing diner that's there now. I'm sure you all know the building.
We do have a.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we have a.
Yeah, it's up on the screen.
Okay.
The next slide is our next rendering, which is taken from the same angle. So you see the forward building on the left, and then the recessed building on the right. We've rendered them in the materials that we're using. I have small samples of the materials here. It's a very pretty sturdy composite panel. So we're using a combination of, we have smooth in that finish with a grid. We have certain areas, accent areas that represent wood. This is the wrong color, but there is a series of textured panels on the front, which I can show you a photograph of sort of what that does. This is a product called Equitone. It's fairly expensive, but it's very durable. So it keeps its color over time. And then for the roofs, we have a dark charcoal and a standing seam metal roof, which is that color right there. So we have one rendering. The first rendering is facing east, so we're facing southeast, looking up the road. And that would be the main entrance coming into the building. We have full landscaping, meeting with town requirements at the front. The second rendering, planning had given us some comments to dress up the north building, the north facade of the north building. So we have taken a similar pattern, similar material to the north building. Even with the amount of openings and light, we've made the windows much bigger, so it has similar elevation to the other buildings. And then we did a series of just 3D models so you can see what the buildings look like. We have the floor plans, we have the elevations. Everything's pretty well developed at this point to answer any questions.
Is there an identified landscape plan aside from what you've been put into
There is.
the renderings?
In the package, we have a full landscape plan. Arnon Engineering did the landscape
Right.
plan. I think they've called out all the species. I can't say I'm the expert on the landscape, but it's definitely in your package.
Well, I can agree with the comments about, increasing the level of aesthetic on the north building.
Yep.
I wasn't familiar with the previous submission. And then I'm wondering if there is still a little bit more room to improve the large block area above the windows that is a little bit of an eyesore in terms of making it more of a very heavy commercial aesthetic. I know that a lot of the surrounding buildings and restaurants have more of a residential feel to them as opposed to a commercial feel. So this is a little bit out of character. I think personally the rear building is much more aesthetically pleasing and to the eye. That north facade, I think, if not going to be concealed or shielded by taller plantings, maybe there could be some kind of idea to improve the aesthetic of that north elevation, because it's going to be what everybody sees.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't call it an eyesore. I think it's actually
Well,
fairly
it's
attractive.
an opinion.
Yeah,
He
I'm
has-
just giving
yeah,
my opinion
Everyone's entitled to their.
in
Absolutely.
just the aesthetic from
Yeah.
comparing to the surrounding buildings. Everything below that 10-foot mark, I think, is great. The windows are great. I think the materials will work well together. The color combination, I think, is right. Are these renderings accurate in terms of the cornice detail and the roof lines?
Yeah.
All the overhangs.
Yeah, I think we were cautious not to make it appear as a residence.
Right.
Or an oversized residence. I
Mhm.
think the idea, it is a commercial building, it is medical use.
Right.
And I think the tablature piece, I think, is simple. I
Mhm.
think we've kept it simple. Could we add a little more articulation? Yes. If you feel that would help, we certainly could. I think it's nicely balanced,
Mhm.
but certainly open to the opinion.
Right, and I bring it up just to open the line of communication we can work
Yeah.
through,
Sure.
and just to get your design process and your ideas and how you came to this conclusion.
Sure.
Yeah, again, I think that the back building is great. I think it looks very nice. The north elevation is where I think maybe we could do a little bit more shielding in terms of the landscape,
Mhm.
just so you don't run into issues with public opinion.
Sure.
Because if you are shielding it, then you don't necessarily have to take the public opinion into account
Yep. Understood.
as much. I think the combination of materials is great. I think the plan, I think it's certainly an improvement on what is there and been sitting there vacant for years now. Those are my comments at the moment. I think I'll open it up to the rest of
Okay.
the board and think about more
Okay, thank
in the
you.
meantime.
Mr. Rump, comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to see what the landscape plan looks
Yes.
like.
Yeah, it's part of your submission. It's SP8.
I don't see it in here.
Yeah, I don't
I don't see it there.
Oh, do you have it there, Kelly?
No, I don't think so. This is just the
No.
site plan.
Well, that's one thing we'd like to see.
Okay.
I think this is a kind of an important structure for the opening of
That's
the beginning of Hampton Bays, so I think it's important that
yeah. The planning board identified that as
it's kind
one
of a
the big
gateway.
issues.
Yeah,
So we've worked with them a little bit on it.
right.
This is what we came up with, and it's certainly, I think, going to change as we work through the
Right.
site
Mhm.
plan process.
And I agree with Michael about, the aesthetic and, there's always it's a conundrum. Do you build a building and then cover it with plantings? Or do you make the building, better? So,
Right.
those are, the things that we try and, in residential things, if it's we ask for screening and things like that, but this is a commercial building which needs to be exposed,
Yeah.
so I think that's the give and take that we have to kind of look at, so.
Would it, just, I'm not a landscape architect, so, but would a tree sort of, like, in between where the building changes, just put one of those
I'm
same
almost
trees there?
thinking that it could be, I like uneven numbers. It could be 3 evergreen trees. It
Yeah.
could be,
Yeah.
we were fortunate enough to do CPI,
Hmm.
and we added, the client wanted to add some scale up on the road, so we added more evergreens, and we used a native holly, American holly,
Yeah.
and you start small.
Yeah.
And but maybe there's 3 of those that are, kind of off center, maybe a little bit to the right where those other trees are, the shrubs, and maybe they kind of take out a little bit of that big glass wall. And that's just a suggestion, but maybe there's somebody could look at that and see if that would work. So
And I agree with that comment. As big of a structure as CPI is, when you're driving past, you focus on the plantings that are at your eye level as you're driving by, as opposed to the buildings behind it.
This is material.
Right. all right, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It looks like it's reflective to me.
Right. but
It's
it
not,
is-
though.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
reflective, because that would be a safety hazard for
Right.
Yeah.
cars coming
Yeah.
down 24.
Yeah, you can see from the sample, it's fairly matte finish
Yeah.
and flat.
Mm-hmm.
That's all my comments,
Okay, all
Mr.
right,
Chairman.
thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Keys, comments?
Hi. So Can I just, first I need to know the size, like the scope of the pieces, because I can't tell from the images. Like, how big are these two buildings?
Yeah, they're small. The one building is a little under 6,000 square feet.
The north one
The
is,
north one is 6,
Uh-huh.
and the back one is 8,000. So
Oh, okay.
collectively, they're about 14,000 square feet for the two, a little over.
okay. And the only thing that's different is, and I just want to clarify, is it's not that they're not pretty buildings, it's that the rest of Hampton Bays
I understand.
has a very different feel.
Yeah.
So they're unique in a way to this community.
Yeah.
So you have to slowly upscale or whatever you want. And my next question is, where will you put the signage? Do you know yet? I mean, are you going to put a standing piece?
There will be a monument sign. I don't know if we showed it on the site plan. I think we have a monument sign out front.
Uh-huh.
There will obviously be a number
Yeah.
on the building and probably very discreet
Mhm.
signage for it. So that'll be a separate application.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yes.
know because I feel like it's part of what the
Yeah.
whole body looks like in a funny way also.
Sure.
Okay, and the other thing is the roof line. It's a really beautiful roof line, and I love the way you did that. So, so basically it's just about the landscaping.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I agree with Tim and
Okay.
Mike.
Mr. Burke, comments?
No, actually, I have no issues. I think it's a huge improvement for the site, so I see no issues whatsoever.
Okay. My comments are this, I wish the back building was in the front because it's more in the character. And since the planning department has done a whole study of the Hampton Bays Business Center,
Mm.
I would be interested to find out if that's in keeping with what they want. And I'm just gonna ask you real quickly, is it possible to put the back building in the front and the front building in the back? Would the site accommodate that?
I don't think because the building is leased that it's square footage, but we could change the architecture of the front if that was compelling,
Yeah.
so that the roof lines were similar to the one in the back as opposed to the split.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Split
talking
gable.
about, plus the
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah.
Because you look at the glass, and I'm not wanting anything to be reflective, because that's gonna be a safety hazard, but it gives you depth
Yeah.
to the whole building, not a flat wall.
Yeah.
And I think that would help a lot.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing is just a little bit of tweaking on the roof lines. You're okay with the materials? Maybe a
Yeah, the
little more
materials, I
articulation.
think, are
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. Well, I think they're appropriate for that
Uh-huh.
corner.
Yeah.
You know, because you're gonna have to have something substantial
Yeah.
as an anchor there.
Yeah.
And I agree with Mr. Rump, maybe some landscaping there, but like I said, the roof line, yeah, I'd prefer like the back roof line, and then I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay.
And that's it. And the rest of my comments are agreeing with the rest of the board on this.
A couple follow-up questions if you're
Yeah,
done, Mr.
yeah,
Chairman. Is there the space that's in the second story of the front building, is that going to be used all for mechanicals? Is that why it's so tall?
No, it's just, it's a double height space because
Uh-huh.
that happens to be the lobby.
Right.
Yeah.
In this building, if we did it up front, we would probably have to shadow box it because there's a lot of
Right.
radiology equipment in there. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a medical testing
Yeah.
building, so it's not as open,
Understood.
you know.
Mhm.
I mean, the more I look into it and now seeing this image, I think the rendering doesn't do the front facade justice because it just looks,
Yeah, you can see
it
the
appears to
pattern.
be a black
Yeah.
square
Yeah.
as opposed to some kind of
Right.
textured material. So I think that'll definitely read better in real life
Yeah.
as opposed to looking at this
Yeah.
rendering. I definitely would want to see a landscape plan as part of our package since we don't have it. And maybe take into consideration, a couple additional specimen or look at across the street, or down the road across the street at CPI and see how they did the landscape in terms of a comprehensive plan as opposed to just evergreens or boxwoods put across the front of the building. I think it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing and it catches your eye more. So you do look at the vegetation as opposed to the structure behind it. I feel like it is aesthetically pleasing and I think it will read better in real life again. But maybe there is something we can do with that roof line on the north building just to make it more like the reverse gable in the back so it reads more comprehensively. Any lighting going to be on the building?
My guess is we'll need some low-level lighting. A lot of times we do it in the sidewalk.
Okay.
Up lighting, just to give a soft glow to the building.
Yeah, all right, but we have to adhere to the dark skies.
Yeah, dark skies for sure.
Okay.
Right.
No question.
Just to mention.
Understood.
To Julie's point, asking about the signage, I understand it's a different submission, but what we wouldn't want to see is all of a sudden a big block sign be up on that gable, and then it just becomes really unappealing.
Yeah, typically we only want the address on the
Right.
building, the number of the building, just right now. Typically we do low-level
Okay.
directories.
Record
anyway, so.
and everything.
I think the renderings don't do it justice to
Yeah.
what the final product would be, and that's what's
I mean, the parking lot.
Right.
making me feel like it could be spruced up
Yeah.
a little bit. But
That's why we'd
the
like
more I
to
look at it,
see
the more I see the materials, I kind of back away from my
It's owned by
original
the town.
comments.
What is that?
This piece.
Okay.
I just have one other comment, and I
Sure.
know it's probably not going to end up that way. I would hope that you put the transformer not in the front of the building, between the road and the building. It shows on the site plan.
Yeah, I think, that's probably PSE&G.
Well,
and
but I think
civil.
there's,
Yeah.
but that's, I think from an aesthetic standpoint.
Yeah,
it'd be-
I can't disagree.
Yeah, but, so I would just, a lot of times it's just shown on the
Yeah.
site plan and it does end up somewhere
We'll
else.
see how much latitude we have
Yeah,
with
just
that, but I would
see.
agree, it's not the.
I know it's,
It's not ideal.
these buildings are gonna pull a lot of power, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
transformer is gonna be pretty big.
Yep.
So, it just seems like, it's right in the middle of everything,
Yeah,
so.
I totally agree with you on that. Is it possible to put this underground?
Not the transformer. I mean, the power to the building is all underground.
Yes, but
The transformer itself, that's PSE&G. I don't think they.
Yeah, they
I
need
don't
to be
think
able to
they'll allow
access
us
it.
to put it on the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
yeah, well, what I mean by is you can have a hatchway or something.
Again, up to PSE&G, we'll look into it. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, but certainly can ask.
I mean, it's done all the time.
In the city.
Yeah, you're right. In the city, it's done
Yeah.
all the time. Where it's even incorporated to part of the basement of the building,
Yeah.
where PSE&G can go in.
We'll do our best
Yeah.
to see if
No,
we
I'm
can
sure you
accomplish
will.
that. Yeah. I mean, it behooves us to get that done.
It does show a monument sign on the, the right turn in from the western
Correct.
entrance.
You kind of see it right here. if you zoom in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Were you all 100% submitting a landscape plan for planning?
I don't remember. I was away when it got submitted. So.
I was
It
looking-
was
I-
part of
I'm
that.
looking right now, so that's fine.
Looks like it was, right? You showed me
Oh,
one.
she said yes, I'm gonna go grab it.
Well, it's one here, I mean, you can show Michael, yeah.
The if you look, Tim, there is looks like there's a tree on that plan where I had talked
Right.
about it.
Yeah, no, I looked at it.
Okay, you brought it.
Yeah. Let Michael take it.
Thank you. Oh, so that's what those plantings are in the rendering to
Yeah.
conceal that transformer.
We also gotta look at sight distance, and people pulling in and out, and all that other stuff, so, the DOT's involved and
We're deep into that with the engineer.
everything, yeah. We had to do the same thing at CPI.
No, it's not gonna be, it's not an easy site,
No.
not at all.
Big focal point of everybody entering the town too.
No,
Cut
but
right in.
it's why we offset the building.
Right.
Especially the traffic coming down, the headlights. It
Right.
actually makes sense.
I think it was done well in terms of utilizing the site plan.
The tenants are medical professionals?
Yes, well, one tenant is already locked up, which is, what did I say, radiology,
Mhm.
so medical testing. The other one is still spec right now. So.
Okay. All right, one of my suggestions to the board is that we consult with the planning department on their plan for Hampton Bays to make sure this fits into it before we render,
That's just a bigger version of what you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what Michael had.
before we render, our final comments, if you wish, or,
Yeah, that's fine. We've been through that process with them. It's sort of, this is the product of a discussion and some changes that we made through the planning staff on that. So that's fine.
okay.
And they're doing that.
You can see, Mr. Chairman, that they have 3 rows of red cedar, eastern red cedars all along that property line between the town piece.
Is that the back property line?
No, the eastern property line,
Okay.
right there.
Yeah.
And then they
the
also
western-
have similar next to Rapid Recovery.
Okay, yeah.
What's next door to it on the eastern side?
That's a town-owned parcel.
Parcel.
Okay.
Yeah, it is, yeah. On
The only thing on it is their sign, which comes onto our property, the Welcome to Hampton,
Yeah.
Oh,
which we
yeah,
have
yeah.
told them they could leave there.
yeah.
And the west is Rapid Recovery?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
and a
they're very
garage.
well screened, it looks
Ah.
like, too. As well as the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, as I mentioned earlier, we're not in the overlay, but it's adjacent, it's probably half a mile down. But if you look at their design guidelines that were published, we're probably closest to Maritime Mercantile, and I think we follow, the recommendations for that, which is more of a retail sort of, as opposed to residential aesthetic.
So you're specifically in a residential zone, you're saying?
We're in the HB zone,
Yeah.
so we're highway business.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
What's the size of the
Okay.
parcel, the lot?
Good question.
It's on- it's
One
gotta
point
be
something
on.
acres. Say 1.2 off the top of my head. Should be on the
It's
zone.
upside down.
Yeah, it's upside down and backwards. 84, 4156. So it's a little over
2
2
acres.
Okay.
I-
Almost 2 acres.
I think it's very well done. I think it's a significant improvement. We just want to make sure you understand you're setting a precedent for the rest of what's going to happen in Hampton Bays. That's why we're going to focus so much on the aesthetic.
Yeah. And the owners and developers for this project are also equally,
Mhm.
aware of the quality of the architecture here, which is why we've done what we've done.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask one last question, because I don't know the interior of the building. How difficult is it gonna be to take like the roof lines of the back building and put them on the front?
The only difficulty is it's not so rational because that double height space will be vacant. There's not a lobby there. We have a lot of medical exam rooms and testing rooms that have 9-foot ceilings, so it'll be like attic space, and we'll have to shadow box it out. So you're not going to see a light fixture or something that makes it appear like a double height space. So, but I think I can work on the roof lines a little to help maybe reverse the gable, as you said.
Yeah.
To help.
We understand the architecture is subjective too.
Yeah,
So.
totally.
And how high is the roof line now on this?
We're allowed to go to 35. I think we're 32.
32.
Yeah, 32. So we're just under.
You're under,
We're under.
at this particular height?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
For both.
Okay.
of them.
You meet sign.
Yeah, this one also. All right.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Like I suggested, we confer with the planning department before we send a transmittal letter to the planning board.
Okay, do you want to see what Alex is able to do with the front building and?
Would like to,
Okay.
and just to speed this up, because I understand you're under a
Yeah.
little bit of pressure on this. Ms. Meyer is the contact for us for this. You can send her digital pictures, and you don't have to wait until we meet again on August whatever.
Perfect.
That's
And
great.
we can look at it, and unless the board objects, then we can send a transmittal letter to the planning board, but all the board members will weigh in on this.
That'd be great. So we can formally send you some sketches.
You're right.
of
You
Improvements.
send it to Ms.
Yeah,
Meyer,
correct.
and she will definitely send it to us right away. And this way, you're not gonna be held up,
Correct. That'd be
you know,
great.
for another meeting, so.
As
Maybe
long
it's-
as Michael is, you know, I'm fine with
Yeah.
Michael being the lead and having him,
I agree too.
You
I
know.
don't need to say anything further. Let Mike.
you know, Michael can look at it
Yeah.
and.
Yeah, but
things
I'd
like
rather have both of you and I looking at it too. Yeah.
I'm fine, I know the direction it's going, and it's, so it's, you know, I'm fine.
Maybe it's something even as simple as adding some glass on that upper gable
Yeah.
that's protruding closest to the north, closest to the street, just to break it up.
Can I say something really crazy? What
Go
about
ahead.
rotating the building a little bit so that it's not the straight side?
I don't think that'll fit in this.
Yeah, I think that'd be tough.
Yeah, the
I
site
think that's something that we did
constraints.
look at.
I think it'd be tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
Because
the
even if it
setback.
moves a little bit this way, it wouldn't look so much like we're coming into the
Well,
alley of
I think
the
that's
building.
the angle of the rendering, to be fair.
Ah.
If you actually look at the site plan, it's
Mhm.
oblique.
Yeah.
It's somewhat oblique to the road. It's not straight
But
on.
that's
Right.
oblique from this angle, but when
Yeah.
you come from the other side.
For that second that you're there, you know, because you're coming around the curve here. But if you look in plan, you can see it's not orthogonal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, again, I go back to the rendering doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it,
it's
Yeah.
hard. It's
Yeah.
always hard.
Okay, so
Thank
that's
you.
it. And
Thank
you.
we'll-
Good luck.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
guys.
and we will try to push this through as quickly as
Thank you.
possible.
Thank you.
Thank you
no,
very
well done.
much.
It looks great.
Thank you.
Do you want to hold on to those samples? or
Yeah,
just-
I need to hold on to mine.
That's fine.
Or, Michael, you want the samples?
Sure.
So,
He's got a big bag.
yeah.
I made sure they were small.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh.
I'm just gonna photograph them.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We can also send you a board with them.
That'd be great.
You know.
With
Yeah.
the
One
submission,
of
just
them,
Yeah,
send
we
us.
can give you the product data if you want also.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
good
Right,
day.
thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, is there?
Thank you.
Because we're waiting
Appreciate it.
on information, we were not going to send a transmittal letter at this time until later. Is there any further business to come before the board?
No,
If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, motion has been made to adjourn and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Our next meeting will be August 6, 2024. One comment I'm gonna make is Christine, who has really done a super job at transferring us from or into the digital age, will be leaving us. And we'll get a new person.
Oh my
And
God.
none of us, I told you, Christine, none of us are happy over this.
Oh,
We're just a
Yeah.
stepping stone, huh?
No, it wasn't intentional. This was a.
Now we have to look really stupid all over again.
Speak for yourself.
all right.
Yeah.
You will be.